Hello, dear student. Let's start today with a short introduction of strategy discovery. Management teams and boardrooms are in a strategy mess, confused by what strategy release and how to design and implement it. Despite all the books, courses, and articles about this topic, the meaning of strategy escapes most managers and directors. The result is corporate underperformance. This lecture understands this pain and addresses it. What's more, it does so in an engaging way, involving in part first-hand accounts and stories. It will help improve an organization's performance in significant ways, showing how to design and implement business strategy much more effectively, using a simple and effective framework. This strategy discovery brings together the insights I gather over an academic career and a management and consulting career. This framework provides you with a methodical approach to the subject of strategy. I expect that strategy discovery will have a wide appeal to students, managers, middle managers, directors in organizations across all sectors, private, public, and not-for-profit, and also universities, because I interact with them constantly as a consultant and lecturer. I also hope that it will be valued by academics as it addresses practical pitfalls in existing strategy frameworks. It's built on a sound theoretical base and it is well referenced. Many strategy books and courses and lectures aim at the professional market, adopt a didactic tone. Practicing managers don't like this, and these kind of courses and books don't sell. Some are full of relational diagrams and dry case studies of remote organizations. Another turn off. Others are light, betraying a superficial knowledge of the topic and the literature. My challenge was to produce a course that had substance, was practical rather than academic, but was still grounded in the literature. It's taken several revisits, rewrites to get to the finished product. A course with the following characteristics. Personal, it speaks to me. Useful, I can apply this. Actionable, I know what I need to do. Sound, I can see its roots in academic research and theory. Each unit starts with a story, provides cases and examples, ends with a call to implement suggested actions, and has endnotes. The opening story is not a case study of some remote organization, but rather an account of a real-life incident. The result is, I hope, I am in. Each unit then builds on these in various ways: cases, client examples, exhibits, and suggestions that together provide in a rich texture for the underlying framework. Unit endings are action points, and all the content is grounded in literature with references. The goal in writing this course was to use a cliché to make a difference by supplying an effective framework with methods to implement it. I want to assist students, managers, and directors improve their organization's performance significantly. Said this, let's begin with Unit 1, Strategic Factors. Discover the ingredients of success. Welcome, dear students. I hope you find this course interesting, insightful, and actionable so you can understand better the diffuse, confusing world of strategy in the business environment. Said this, let's begin. Strategic factors. Discover the ingredients of success. About 20 years ago, I was appointed GM of White River Timber, a company that made trusses and frames for houses. White River had been struggling, and my role as a GM was to turn the business around. One fateful morning, after I'd been in the job for about 3 months, I found myself staring out through the large plate glass window that formed one wall of my office, watching the trucks and forklifts below. The forklifts were dashing backwards and forwards at a frenzied pace, loading the semi-trailers. First the timber frames went on, then the trusses, and then on top went all the other items required to construct a house. I thought, what am I doing here? What do I know about this industry? What would I know about achieving success if I were a timber industry veteran? It was my moment of truth. Then came the crunch question, the real moment of truth. I asked myself, what do we need to do to lift the company's performance? I challenged myself to list, on the fingers of one hand, the ingredients of success in the industry. If I couldn't, I decided I really shouldn't be the company's GM. Can I, on the fingers of one hand, tell someone the ingredients of success in this industry? In the weeks and months that followed this startling realization, I made several significant changes in consultation with the senior management team. There were 4 of us on the team: the financial controller, the sales manager, the manufacturing manager, and me. These changes included reducing staff numbers, lowering stock levels, discontinuing unprofitable product lines, closing the non-cost effective milling operation, and so on. As a team, I observed we were busy doing things and making changes, all of which made sense to us as managers. But as time progressed, I questioned how well we knew precisely what our customers, suppliers, and employees wanted. I also queried what it would take for us to meet those needs in a way that would beat our competitors. I felt that it was essential to be able to state in a few words the ingredients of success, and I wasn't sure I could, because it was a turnaround job. Our management team focused primarily on cost cutting and cost containment to save the company money. This was fine, I felt, for short term survival, but of no direct benefit to the customer, nor was it a long term corporate solution. In fact, cutting costs could impair our competitive advantage by narrowing our product range and diminishing our customer service. My reflection drew me to thinking in a way I've now labeled strategic. Until that point, as I've said, most of my focus had been on saving the company from ruin, which primarily led to operational thinking. Time to put some work into discovering the few fundamental ingredients of success in the industry, I thought. I needed to discover the short list of items that could see a business like ours achieve real competitive advantage. Eventually, I did come up with a set of items that roughly fit on the fingers of one hand, and as a team, we continued to make improvements, but I really wasn't happy with my list. It seemed to be a hodgepodge of items, some internal to the business, such as cost containment, and some external, like customer service. I knew it was following a common practice, but it seemed flawed. A little over a year after all the tumultuous changes, we turned in the first profit that the company had achieved in a long time. However, the holding company had other plans for its investment and sold the business. I moved on. I was happy with the results we achieved, but not convinced by the framework I used. You want to know the ingredients of success? We all do. Whether your passion is golf, tennis, cooking, cars, you seek to uncover these basic principles, which when applied will drive you in the right direction to succeed. And so it is with strategy. What are the few things you have to get it right if your organization or business unit is to succeed? Whether your passion is golf, tennis, or cooking, or cars, or fashion, you seek to uncover those basic principles, which when applied will drive you in the right direction to succeed. Two kinds of critical success factors. My career post White River Timber took a fresh turn. Although I contemplated taking on the company turnarounds, frankly I needed a rest. Turnarounds are tough, and I certainly didn't want to tackle another one right away. So about a year later, after I completed a building development of my own, I began consulting for clients and conducting my first public seminars in strategic planning. In effect, I returned to my academic roots, but this time I was dealing with practical problems, front on, and looking at the theory through a practice lens. I started by employing the term critical success factors for those few things an organization has to get it right to succeed. This concept had been around for some time and is still in common use today. You may use it yourself in your own organization, but the problem with the concept is that it covers a wide range of items. The critical success factor label is used to things as different as market share, capacity and productivity, caliber of staff, raw material costs, engineering capability, operating costs, customer satisfaction, and innovation. In short, identifying critical success factors produces a real jumble of items. To deal with this mess, I began separating critical success factors into two categories: competitive and process. Competitive cover items such as customer service and product quality. External factors. Meanwhile, process cover activities such as selling, engineering, advertising, and so on. Internal factors. Note, by the way, how many activity and process words in ing. However, these labels prove quite awkward and confusing to clients and also to students, so I had to rethink and redesign. So I chewed on this. It became clear to me that process factors were second order items as far as designing strategy was concerned, not the primary focus. Process factors were the operational means to achieving the competitive factors, such as lower prices or a broader product range. Strategy design was about taking positions on competitive critical success factors, such as price and product range, and then using process factors, such as advertising, engineering, design, to implement the strategy. Strategy aimed to achieve competitive advantage and was clearly and firmly anchored in competitive critical success factors. As the two labels were almost the same, I thought, could we ditch the tags altogether and simply call competitive critical success factors, strategic factors. I figured that the process critical success factors didn't need a label at all, since they would reemerge later in implementing strategy. But as this is significant, their importance is governed by their link as enablers to position on strategic factors. Selecting strategic factors. Selecting the strategic factors for your organization is essential to your organization success and to identify business opportunities. The critical point is that strategic factors are particular to each of your organization's stakeholders. We will discuss stakeholders fully in the next unit. In the case of the stakeholder group of customers, for instance, I ask management teams, what are the key things you need to get right for your customers in order to succeed? In other words, what are the strategic factors for your customers? They're fundamentally the same question. The critical point is that strategic factors are particular to each of your organization's stakeholders. Answers come hesitantly at first. Have I got this right? The managers wonder. Then, having tested the water, they plunge in, and in no time, we have the first draft of each key stakeholder's strategic factors. Of course, I draw to their attention that these lists are their best guesses, not their key stakeholders' responses. The managers agree and take a note to verify the lists via interviews with key stakeholders later. This is critical because strategy focused on stakeholders must be developed from the stakeholders' point of view. In other words, it must be designed from the outside in, not from the inside out. The process managers and directors use to verify this is interesting. From some, the response is, my goodness, why aren't we doing this already? They recognize the need immediately. You can see it in their eyes, on their faces. Others murmur, do we really need to do this? But this disbelief turns to conviction when they realize that they've been doing for years, taking what is best for their key stakeholders and for granted, and as a result, moving their business to a failure-prone position. See Exhibit 1.1 for how managers can get it wrong. Stakeholder strategic factors. Over the years, I've assembled a large database of strategic factors, a list for each key stakeholder of an organization I work with. To assist you in your strategic factor research and investigations, here are a few samples covering a range of key stakeholders across various industries. Customers. When we think of customers, our minds naturally drift to retailing. But let's look at something different. This simple sample involves a government-owned port corporation we'll call QuickDock. The company has two roles: to act as the overall authority for the port and its operations, and to act as a freight handler in the port itself. The amount of work QuickDock obtains depends on two choices for ship operators. First, they must choose QuickDock's port over other ports in the area. Second, they must choose QuickDock to handle their freight handle than other handlers. The central question for QuickDock is, how do we get more business? As far as ship operators are concerned, two sets of strategic factors are involved. The first set concerns the choice of port. Port capability, freight availability, congestion, location, price. The second set concerns the choice of freight handler within the port. Here the factors are turnaround, links to rail transport, strike-free workforce, good safety record, access, all-tight access, charge, simplicity, a one-stop shop for total logistic charges, freight handling capability, cranes and other facilities, price, charge to unload and load freight. The team at QuickDock, composed of senior management and board members, focused on both sets of strategic factors and developed a strategy that would raise the corporation performance on these factors, firstly as a port and secondly as a freight handler. Employees. Very often when leadership teams sit down to develop strategy, they are very confused on customers, particularly designing products that will appeal to customers. But employees are a key stakeholder group that can make or break an organization. If you can attract and keep star performers, there's little chance that you will be able to execute your strategic plan. The second sample list of strategic factors concerns employees in a different industry, building construction. A company will call complex, build schools, office blocks, shopping centers, and public facilities, such as libraries and swimming pools, a broad scope of construction projects. It also refurbishes hotels, shops, and restaurants. The company operates through a wide range of contractors. Complex wins the head contracts and then subcontracts most of the detailed work on each project. The management team identified a following list of strategic factors for its employees. Rewards, recognition, pay, bonuses, and promotion opportunities. Development, skills training and professional development. Workforce environment, comfortable and safe. Organizational culture, ethics, working relationships, communication, job security, job requirements, flexibility, job demands, and empowerment. The margin on the company's projects is a mere 2%. So, in its strategic plan, management developed a strategy to attract and retain the very best staff. It recognized that achieving this edge had an additional effect on contractors and clients. Both would benefit if complex could attract and retain highly competent staff. Ultimately, there would be a significant impact on shareholders as well, showing up as above average returns on shareholder funds. As you would expect, I found that strategic factors vary for the same type of key stakeholder in different industries. Safety and health concerns were paramount for the employees of a manufacturer or lead batteries where working conditions were highly toxic. Suppliers. For many businesses, suppliers are another key category of stakeholders. As many companies learned during the last pandemic, without solid relationships with suppliers, your whole business could collapse. Consider now the case of suppliers to a mining equipment company. We'll call it Equip. It manufactures replacement parts for major earth-moving and drilling equipment. Equip suppliers provide materials and component parts to produce these replacements. The management team identified the following strategic factors for their suppliers. Profitability, the margin between make and sell. Lead time, to prepare the order, the longer the better. Specifications, clear details of what is required. Payment, promptly and with minimal red tape. Business growth opportunities, through a long-term relationship. Equip's management team recognized the importance of doing well on these factors if its relationships with its suppliers were to be effective and not hinder its relationship with its customers. To cite one example, Equip set out to improve its performance only time by establishing an information system that ensures suppliers had advance notice of equip requirements. This led to better performance by Equip itself in meeting its customers' deadlines. Key result: area versus strategic factor. A widespread practice in developing so-called strategies goes like this. During the strategic planning session, a suggestion will be made to identify the organization critical success factors, key result areas, or some other general purpose label for the ingredients of success. Someone will walk over to a flip chart or whiteboard and write a heading, and everyone will pile it to come with a short list of items. Let's take a look at several sets of such results derived from this approach. One concerns a World Customs Organization, linked listed online as key RAs are international cooperation and information sharing, harmonization and simplification of customs systems and procedures, compliance and enforcement, trade facilitation, supply chain security and facilitation, capacity building, promotion and marketing, research and analysis, good governance and use of resources. Here are the key RAs for the Aircraft Certification Business Plan. Implementation of safety management systems, enhancing industry relationships, enhancing the certification program, ensuring adequate regulatory materials and policies, enhancing management processes and practices, implementation of the accountability framework and safety management systems for aeronautical product certification. The Plastic Sectors Council also lists 7 key result areas to guide its strategies and activities: career awareness, promotion, labor market research, training, job competencies, career development, continuing education, accreditation, qualification recognition. Items such as these, generated in the manner I've described, which then become the focus of developing strategy, don't always carry the classic labels KRIs or critical success factors. There are numerous synonyms such as priorities, domains, key success factors, priority areas, and even key objectives. But the result is always the same: a set of business as usual items developed by a group of managers sitting in a room. It's all too comfortable to be challenging or useful. Know how bland these items are compared to the varied sets of strategic factors described earlier. I've identified 4 fundamental differences between the critical success factors or key RA approach and the strategic factors approach. See Exhibit 1.2. Remember these when next you attempt to look inside out. Critical success factors, key RAs, rather than outside in, strategic factors, which we will be focusing. The first major difference in the number of sets, and this is fundamental to your strategic planning and the development of strategies with critical success factors and key RAs, there is one set per organization or business unit. With the strategic factors, there is one set per key stakeholder: one for your customers, one for your employees, one for your suppliers, and so on. For example, instead of the key RA called people management, which is very broad, a strategic factor approach, we substitute this with the key stakeholder called employees, and then identify the specific strategic factors for this group. These include rewards, work location, co-worker relationships, promotional opportunities, and job demands. Strategy would be developed around these items to achieve a competitive advantage in attracting and retaining effective staff. Take the fast food chains. KFC, and Burger King. The strategic factors for their customers are product range, product quality, company image, customer service, store location, store presentation, hours of operation, and price. Again, a strategy to achieve a competitive advantage would be developed around these factors. A different set of factors exists for each of these chains. Other stakeholders such as employees, shareholders, and suppliers. The second and third points of difference are who identifies and who validates a factor areas. This is a matter of great practical significance for you. Critical success factors and key arrays are determined by the management team of an organization or business unit. Typically, as I have noted, a manager will walk over to a whiteboard or flip chart and write critical success factors or key result areas on top of it. Then the management team strives to come up with items they think should make the shortlist. As is usually the case in these situations, rank plays an important part. The more senior the manager, the more he or she is likely to get his or her item accepted. The CEO has huge clout. Different personalities also play a part. The persuasive and boisterous outbid the shy. A list is developed at the end a process like this, but you should ask, is this list valid? The fact that it can only be validated by your management should cause flashing red lights to go off in your head. With strategic factors, the situation is completely different. While the factors may be developed initially by your management team, the team agrees that it is only a starting point. Each list, one per key stakeholder, must be subsequently validated by researching the requirements of each key stakeholder. This is essential if you are to develop effective strategy later. An additional practical impact I've observed concerns the atmosphere in these critical success factors key array versus strategic factor sessions. It is very different. In the critical success factor key array session, the claimant is competitive, combative, and sometimes hostile. In the strategic factor sessions, the atmosphere is far more constructive and inquiring, as the aim is to see the organization or business unit through the eyes of stakeholders. As a result, the heat is of individual management team members to compete for a point. The emphasis shifts from an inside-out view of what the organization does, the critical success factor key array approach, to an outside-in view of what stakeholders want, strategic factor approach. What do our customers want? What do our suppliers want? What do our employees want? What do our shareholders or owners want? Your fresh approach. When next you think about the ingredients of success for your organization or business unit, when next you stare out your metaphorical plate glass window searching for answers, take the following few fundamental steps. 1. Change your thinking. Think outside in. Do you know how easy it is to get drawn by operational detail, to become swamped by the process and procedures of your organization? But you have recognized the need to step out of your organization and look at it outside in. It's a discipline that will pay dividends. 2. Identify key stakeholders. Identify the key stakeholders of your organization or business unit, and then look at what you do through their eyes. Here lie your stakeholder strategic factors and your organization ingredients of success. Your stakeholders would be groups such as customers, suppliers, employees, and owners or shareholders. 3. Focus on strategic factors. Ask, what makes them buy from supply to work for, invest in your organization or business unit? This is outside-in thinking. You'll come up with items like product quality for customers, order lead time for suppliers, promotional prospects for employees, and capital growth for owners. These strategic factors are the key ingredients of your organization success. Said this, my friends, my future strategists, you will then pass to your weekly activity in which you will have to identify your key stakeholders for your organization that you have been working on the last 2 or 3 activities, and you will need to check or identify their strategic factors for customers or employees, which are crucial, or maybe suppliers if you are working with a auto industry. So this, thank you and see you soon. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Goodbye.